Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media. We are pleased to have in the studio with us friends from Bytelearn, joining us as a Senior VP of Sales, Adrianne Porter. How you doing, Adrianne? Is it Adriana or Adrian?
It's Adrian, as in Rocky. Yo, Adrian.
Yo, I like it. A little bit of the movie gig on that stuff over there, joined by Todd Ullah, a longtime friend and colleague of mine, CEO of Impact in Education Consultants. Todd, how are you doing?
Good, doing great.
Very good. Adrian, talk about the mission of Bytelearn.
Yeah, so, we were founded in 2021, and our CEO, he's phenomenal. His name's Aditya Singhal, and he's actually co-founded a couple other education companies. But our main mission is really to help support students in math, specifically middle school, and we're working on secondary as well. But our goal is to really help facilitate and foster better conceptual concepts of math. When we look at the way a lot of other products, there's great products out there now, but there's a huge crisis in regards to math scores that are
You can just say it like it is.
No, I know. I haven't done one of these shows before, so thank you. Basically, our goal and our mission is to help impact students we do use artificial intelligence to do this, but there is a shortage of teachers out there, and we're supporting them in every way we can, because we really we believe math is just as important as ELA in order for our students to continue to grow.
No, there's no question about it. And, math is everywhere. We all know that, like science. And when kids know that math is I didn't really know that was math. Yeah, if you're a big sports fan and you read the sports section, guess what? That's about math. You're doing stats and all that business on this. I know I was talking to you about this too, Todd, and this is why we have Adrian on the show here, that most people may or may not realize we are in a math crisis in this country and so forth. And I'll start with you on this, Todd, and pivot over to you, Adrian. If we don't correct this, we really can't move forward, can we?
Absolutely. I mean, California and, in fact, the whole nation.
Right.
If you look at our NAEP scores and our California CAS scores, in 2022, 33% of kids in California, Drew, as you know, did not meet standards. In fact, we suffered a 6.7% decrease in those numbers of kids that met standard.
Right.
And for middle school, it was 7%. So it's even a greater dip. And then if you look at that in terms of achievement gaps for African Americans and Latinas and Latinos, 16 and 21% respectively. So we've got to do something bold, have some bold action around this crisis. So,
Adrian, in some of these numbers that Todd was talking about, we all know that the pandemic exasperated a lot of this, okay? There's no question, but we can't blame everything on the pandemic. Some of these numbers were slipping even before the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken, in this area there. But what Bytelearn does, the focus of that is to really get, sort of individualized instruction, correct? Personalized instruction. Is that with a small group? Is it with the individual students themselves, or is it just a different strategy in how to teach math?
Yeah, no, it definitely is differentiated. So we really help a student exactly where they're at, right? So if they're gifted, they can definitely continue to move forward, which we want. I think there are a lot of products out there that are response to intervention, definitely helping those students that are challenged, and that's important. But those gifted students need a lot of support as well. So we meet the student right where they are. And one of the things about the pandemic that has definitely created, I think, an alarm with everybody in the education industry is that we know we have to have digital resources now. We don't know what is on the horizon or in the future for us. And hopefully we don't have to have something like this again. But also there's a lot of students that are actually working remote and from home now as well. So digital resources are so important, mainly number one, because they can do them at home or they can do them in the classroom.
Sure.
So you can use this for a small group classroom instruction, or you can even use it as homework and assignments there. So really, we don't ever want to take the teacher out of the equation. We think that's so important. We want the teacher to have full autonomy in how they use this.
Right, exactly. So you use Todd Ullah's teaching a 7th grade math class and so forth, and he's got 35 kids in it, which he shouldn't have, but let's say he does in this aspect, and he's pulling.
I've been there and done that.
I know you have. That's why I said it. Adrianne, you might not know this, but Todd was actually the vice principal at the high school I went to school at. Now,
really?
I graduated 400 years before he was the vice principal there, but it was Pacific Palisades up in the LA area. But using that example, Adrianne, so Todd's got these kids and all this, and some are falling behind. Does Bytelearn come in and provide additional resources for Todd? How does that work?
Yes, we definitely do. So we are a supplemental resource.
Right.
And we still expect the teacher to teach their core instruction.
Sure.
But we're supplementing additional pieces of math components. So we really break it down, and that's why we're called Bytelearn. We break it down in bite-sized pieces. And so we provide that extra supplemental support that they need. And also, when you're teaching a core curriculum in the classroom, it's really hard to identify which one of those 35 students,
Exactly.
where am I struggling, where is Todd struggling? And it's so important that we as the teachers have insight to that, and that's what we're here to do, provide that.
Yeah, and Todd knows this. We're chatting with Todd Ullah, CEO of Impact Education Consultants, joined by Adrianne Porter, Senior VP of Sales of Bytelearn, talking about the math crisis in the United States and the world, probably for that matter, but certainly the United States. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 17th year in these beautiful Mission-Fed studio in Scripps Ranch, and Mission-Fed's been doing great things for San Diegans for 60 years in this area. A long time ago, Adrianne, I was honored to be the president of the Reading Association in San Diego, and I worked for San Diego Unified, developing curriculum, and Todd knows this aspect. And so when we used to, here I'm going to date myself here, we used to break down the scores on CTBS, the comprehensive test of basic skills, and everyone's going, God, this guy's a fossil. And he's talking about CTBS, for God's sake. But what we would do, let's say on the English language arts, you can break down and say, okay, this kid's struggling with main idea, this kid's struggling with multi-meaning words or whatever. Can you break that down in math as well? This is where this kid is struggling in this component of math?
Absolutely. So we really break it down by Common Core standards. So we definitely align to San Diego, California. We are in the process of aligning to other states as well. So Texas, New York, we all have different standards, but we definitely break that down conceptually at a very micro level for the teacher to understand.
Yeah, and Drew, as you know, we run a lot of camps here in San Diego and around the country. And Bytelearn's a partner, and what we do is we use another program that's a reading and math intervention. And in that program, we do an initial placement, so we see where the kid is at grade level or not. And if they're not at grade level, we help boost them by pairing them with programs and supports that will get them to grade level,
right,
which is meeting standard. Bytelearn plays well with those types of interventions and strategies by creating specific looks at where the kid has some challenging gaps or some learning gaps. So that's how we're using it to help boost math scores here in San Diego.
When we come back from break, I want to talk a bit more about that now that you've done the intervention with, Todd's class. We'll use Todd's class as an example on that. And then how long do you stay with that student? Is it just for that school year?
Great
Is
question.
that something that they can take home and work on over the summer where there's learning loss, or they can work with the parents and all that? When we return with Adrianne Porter, Senior VP of Sales for Bytelearn, joined by her colleague Todd Ullah, CEO of Impact Education Consultants. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission-Fed Credit Union and this wonderful studio in Scripps Ranch. Mission-Fed continuing to do great things for San Diegans for more than 60 years. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission-Fed, You get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 17th year, brought to you by Mission for crediting this beautiful Mission Fed studio in Scripps Ranch. Mission Fed's been certainly raising the bar in this community in San Diego for more than 60 years, joined by Adrianne Porter, Senior VP of Sales for Bytelearn, joined by Todd Ullah. He is the CEO of Impact Education Consultants. And Adrianne, we're just talking, right before this, and Todd, you can jump in as well. So now you're doing some intervention, helping out Todd and helping out the students with Todd and giving them some activities, maybe one-on-one with some of the students there. Okay, now the semester's over. Do you say, hey, it was nice seeing you and that's it? Or do you stay with the student? How does that work?
Definitely the goal is to stay with the student, right, throughout the course of their middle school and their high school education. And I think it's really important to answer your question. Yes, we can absolutely be used in summer school. I would love for Todd to speak to a little bit to that. But really at the end of the day, Todd mentioned this a few minutes ago, when a student comes into 6th, 7th, 8th grade, it doesn't necessarily mean they're able to do math at that grade level, even just walking in the door. And the same with ELA, which we're very familiar with as well, but sometimes some students are going to need to go back a little bit just to catch up.
Right.
And so we are used in a lot of ways as a response to intervention as well. But like I said, it's important to work with the gifted as well. Todd is doing some really great things in San Diego right now with Bytelearn in a summer school program, which is also being used throughout the year. And ultimately, we, to answer your question, definitely would like students to continue to engage in that even when they're home, because we are very familiar with learning loss during the summer.
Absolutely. Todd, talk about, do you work with the parents at all?
Yeah, the parents have access to the programs as well. Both the intervention programs are used for academic enrichment, Bytelearn included. They certainly have access to all of the bells and jingles of the program and can follow the student.
Right, exactly.
In fact, we have a lot of home use, a lot of homeschool parents use it.
Well, you know where I'm going with this.
Mm-hmm.
When I talk to parents that or my age or a lot younger, and they go, "Hi, I stunk in math when I was in school." Are you kidding me? When the kid's coming home with this homework, and it might as well be hieroglyphics, for God's sake.
Right.
And so I can't help my kid with this because I stunk doing polynomials when I was a student and all this. But with Bytelearn, are there things where even the parents can now help the students with things?
Yeah, I mean, what I found in using Bytelearn in Todd's classroom,
right,
would be that it has an assistant. Like if you have a problem that has to do with Pythagorean theorem or something,
sure,
and you don't understand it as a parent, well, Bytelearn will walk the student through their levels of difficulty to solving the problem. So the parent can sit along with the student,
right,
and learn about it as well. They do it in such a way as it's really in their realm, the student's realm, if you will, in terms of you can text the information into Bytelearn, you can type it, you can interact with the system and really see your results step by step. so the parent can follow that very
Yeah, and Adrian, so we were talking about, you meet the student where they are, and with whatever their mode of learning is. You mentioned texting; it could be whatever it is. Who knows?
Absolutely.
Maybe it's YouTubing or hulaing and all that aspect of it. But what's great about this, and we all know this, and the same thing works with reading as well. Once they understand how to do X, whatever the X is, and the confidence level once they're using Bytelearn must be just soaring. Talk about that.
It's huge, yeah. And one of the things we're seeing from in a form of efficacy with our product is that when a student starts out, they're asking a lot of questions, and as they get more, as they move along in the course, they're having to ask less suggestions and ask what we call our bite for assistance. I do want to piggyback on something you just said though about parents, because I will tell you, I'm going to age myself by saying I'm an empty nester, but I will tell you, I really struggled doing homework with my children, and it's not even just, it's actually just the way that it's taught in the schools now that is so much different, and the expectations of how they go about that. And so I will tell you, I hear from parents more almost than teachers even, that they're so pleased that they have this to help them with their children at home. It's a hard task for us. They're learning in a completely different way than we did when we were in school.
100%. And you want to be able to help your kid, to say the least, in this aspect. And, and listen, with math, right now, some people my daughter's a great example of this. My daughter, who's a teacher now, she teaches at Chaparral Elementary in the Poway School District. Awesome. And she's a phenomenal teacher. She struggled with math, and it was almost like, I had this mental block about math, and then of course when you have a mental block, that exasperates the situation and all this business, and certainly has overcome all that aspect. And we just talked about the confidence level that's so important.
That's huge.
Well, it really is. Whether it's confidence in how you're reading, or confidence in how you're doing math or science and so forth. I'll start with you on this, Adrian, then pivot over to Todd. We just talked about this huge national crisis in math, but Bytelearn's putting on a national webinar on the 13th of July.
We are.
Exactly. Talk about that.
So we want to address the issues that we are seeing nationwide with middle school in particular. And there's a ton of funding that's available to schools and districts all over the country in a number of different forms of grants. You have the GEAR grants available. You have the emergency block grant that just came to California to help students specifically with this learning loss that we're seeing. And so we want to make sure that, one, educators understand, and we truly believe and know that there's some really phenomenal products out there. But we play really nicely with the iReadies, the iExcels, Imagine Learnings of the world. And we know that they're incredible products, but it's not working. We're still seeing a significant loss, and so we have to do something different. And one of the things I think we do really well is we pair really well with all these different products and companies to give the students who all learn in different ways another form and avenue to help support them, both at home and in school.
Right. So how do they access the webinar, Todd? Is there a website? Is there a link?
Yeah, there'll be a link set up that you can log into on Bytelearn's website.
Okay, good.
Bytelearn.com.
Right.
And one thing I want to say too, specifically for California, Drew, is California is really kind of leading the way across the country with addressing learning loss.
Right.
And so the webinar is going to be really situated around the Learning Recovery Block Grant that was recently signed by the governor.
Right.
That brings about $2,500 per student.
Yeah, that's huge.
For exactly these types of supports. So we want to get that out there and let people know that what to do, how to access those funds, and more importantly, what are the types of things you should be doing to support mathematics in the California schools.
Right. Now, will those funds be used by the school itself, by the classroom teacher, both? Do parents have access to that?
Yeah, the funding is situated on a per pupil basis that goes to the local LEA, local educational agency, the district, and it's administered here in California by the county offices of education.
Right, exactly. And this is so important. It sounds so obvious when you heard the word crisis and anything, but It's the same thing in reading. We read this. Both you folks know this so well.
Right.
It was a great program the LA Times had done. I think it probably doing. It's called Reading by 9. If you're not at grade level by getting into 4th grade in reading, it's very, very hard to make that up. Now, people certainly can do that with the right interventions. Is it the same thing in math as well? That if you're not at a certain level by a certain, it's just harder to catch up.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And also both with reading and math, the life path of those students it's in danger. Where a lot of them end up is not where we want them to be in society. So math and ELA both are so important. And that's why there's a lot of funding for both of these,
right.
And why there's so much concern that we're really falling behind in these particular areas. They are absolutely critical to a student's success going into adulthood.
Well, listen, again, I guess the theme of this session is being how do we date ourselves? Okay, so I'll do this again here. It was back in the day when, we were just learning how to mesh, language arts with critical thinking, and it just, critical thinking happens in math and science and geography and everything in between, and we know the connectivity between reading and math.
Absolutely.
Okay, they are absolutely intertwined. Maybe it took us a little while to get to that point, but we know that. Todd, talk about how important that is that people know how critical both of those skill sets are.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in today's day and age, as you see technology approaching every lifestyle, every walk of life, and things we do in the world. And so, being proficient in those two things is going to get a kid to be that engineer, to be that mathematician, to be that doctor that's going to help you as you age. And so those things are very, very important. In fact, a question that you had asked just a minute ago, as a high school principal, we know that algebra is a gatekeeper to graduation.
That's right.
And the skill sets that lead to algebra are equally important for a kid to get in terms of learning. And if you can't read, you can't do math.
Right.
100%.
You're not going to graduate. And so we want to help that. We want to be able to be there to provide that support for students, both technologically and with the core content.
Yeah, spot on. So, Adrianne, how can our listeners support your efforts? What can they do to support Bytelearn?
Yeah. But just before I move to that, just real quick, though, I'm giggling a little here when we're talking about aging ourselves, because if you think about how far technology's come since we've been alive, I'm at my age, I feel like I'm very technically inclined, but there's still things that I'm starting to feel a little antiquated with, where I'm asking my 23-year-old son how to do something. So I think it's really important that students continue to progress in this technology area, because it's not going anywhere. We know it's going to continue to be a very, very huge aspect of the rest of their lives. Ways that listeners can help support us, definitely if you're a parent out there and you'd like support with your own child at home, and you're feeling like I've definitely felt, or others here at this table, go to bytelearn.com. You can also, go there first. We offer a free trial, and if you're a parent, we definitely have ways and opportunities to help there. If you're a teacher, we'd love for you to join this webinar. It's going to be so important. So, Todd, if that's okay, I'll hand it over to you, since you're going to be leading that webinar, right?
Yeah, July 13th.
July 13th. Well, you'll see it on Bytelearn's website, bytelearn.com, and come and join us, learn about the Learning Progression Block Grant and what's going on around the country with math.
We really appreciate that. Always a pleasure having you on. Todd Ullah, he's the CEO of Impact Education Consultants. A pleasure meeting you. Adrianne Porter, Senior VP of Sales for Bytelearn. Go to the website. You can catch up with that webinar on the 13th of July at 2 o'clock. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 17th year. Here we are in the beautiful Mission-Fed studio in Scripps Ranch. Mission-Fed been doing great things for San Diegans for more than 60 years. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission-Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.